Okay, yeah, you're all set.
All right, so I've shared my screen. Can everyone see that? Does
Yeah,
that
we
work?
sure can.
Yep. Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Yep.
So this session is about something new this season that we didn't really, expect coming into it, and it's the physical testing that Elite 3s and Elite 4s have to do as part of their all-around competition now. So I figured we don't really have much experience with that, so it would be a good topic for us to start with. So some overview. Says Elite. It's for both Elite 3 and 4. So a physical testing routine is the 7th event, like I said. All judges at our provincial level or higher should be ready to take on this event, and it might be combined with vault, or it might be done at the 7th rotation, just for those few boys that have to do it. They will have to do this at Western Championships as well as part of the all-around, so it's important that they are used to competing. Sorry about my dog.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was worried mine would bark.
So at Westerns, it's usually a junior national team coach or one of his representatives that will do it, and then a selected judge will usually do this during the podium training. And for Elite 4s, they have to submit this routine as part of their videos to qualify to that category. So in general, all the FIG executions apply, but there's also specific executions that are outlined in the document that apply on top of the FIG executions. Artistic presentation is emphasized throughout, so we really want to see the boys showing off these routines and making them look good. Smooth and controlled rhythm. So everything you'll see in the document, everything is no interruption in the movement upwards and the pressing elements and downwards, and everything needs to be in control. Held positions like FIG, 2 seconds, and precise final hold positions for all elements is something that we really have to look for. Any added element is a 0.3 deduction, and then any missing element, it gives you the value of that movement, and then you just deduct that from the final score. And the equipment is a dowel and a set of parallettes for both these routines, and it should be provided by the host clubs or the local organizing committee. I think that's it on that screen. Okay, so some specific FIG deductions that we have to be looking for. So this is for the aesthetic and execution. So if they adjust their hand or grip position, so just the same as on P-bars, if they do that sort of hand movement adjustment, that's the deduction 0.1 each time. Walking in handstands, both these routines have lots of handstands, so any walking you have to remember is 0.1 each time. There's a lot of pressing elements, so if they touch their feet or their legs on the floor during these elements or on the parallettes, then it's a 0.1. Again, we have our bent arms, bent legs, legs apart deductions. And flex feet is a other aesthetic error 0.1 that we have to be taking. Poor posture or body position or postural corrections in end positions. That's a 1, 3, or 5 deduction. And that's one of the big ones we have to be looking for. These are basic elements, and these boys need to be performing them perfectly. So perfect straight handstand position. There's planches, there's straddle out sits. So all these have to be performed precisely as prescribed. And if not, we'd either take a angular deduction or this poor body posture deduction. Lack of flexibility in static elements, we won't be taking that deduction because any elements that have flexibility involved, they have their own specific angular deviation deductions outlined in this document. This is for bent arms, bent legs, legs apart. And these deductions have been was updated from the FIG code of points in a newsletter 34, I think. Yeah, newsletter 34. So before it just said slight bending, strong bending, extreme bending, and there's no quantitative way to determine that. So they determined that 0 to 45 degrees is a 1/10 deduction, 45 and higher to 90, it's 3/10, and bigger than 90 is a 5/10 deduction. And generally, a large deduction means no credit for that skill. So the technical deductions that will be applied are interruption and upward movement, and they also have that in the document outlined. Lowering of the legs to handstand, so 0 to 15 is 1, 16 to 33, 30 to 45, 0.5, and if their legs go up and come down more than 45 degrees, they get no recognition and a 0.5 deduction for that. So there's lots of pressing elements, like I said, so we have to be looking out for the lowering of the leg deductions. Then we have our angular deviation deductions for our final end position. So straddle planche is 1, straddle L-sit's 1, and even a handstand push-up, there might be angular deviations of that. Then we have to look for a duration of the hold parts and making sure we count when the whole body stops moving. That's when we start counting. 1, 2, okay, that's long enough. Press from poorly held positions. So if you deduct for, say, in the Elite 3 routine, if there's a straddle L-sit, press to handstand, they do a poor straddle L-sit, you take a 3/10 deduction. They get a 3/10 deduction in the press because they pressed from that poorly held position. So we need to make sure we're taking that deduction. Any sort of swing with strength, so if they kind of push off the ground in their press to handstand, one is a standing straddle press to handstand, we have to take that deduction. And then, like I said, lots of handstand, so any unsteadiness in handstand is a deduction we'll be taking as well. And like Leanne said, if you guys have any questions about any of this, just unmute yourself and speak up.
I'm foreseeing some very low scores.
Yeah, so we have some example routines later. When I judged it and added all the FIG deductions, I was generally almost a point lower than what they scored in their testing. So maybe I'm just harsh, or maybe they just didn't get all those other deductions in there. But yeah, there's lots of opportunity for error and deductions here. Any other questions about these FIG deductions?
No, I think we're good to continue.
Yep. Okay, so this is the Elite 3 routines. So everyone was sent this document, and I just took a picture of it and put it up here.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over basically how to interpret the performance expectations and other deductions that you need to be looking for in all these skills. So for the dislocate, inlocate, the angle we're looking for is from vertical. So here to 15, spelled like that, that is no deduction. As soon as you get into this range, you're in the 1/10. Around here, you're looking at 3 to 5, and then below there's 5/10 deduction. So we're looking at one arm from vertical. Those are our angles. My cat just jumped up. And then the other thing is when they are picking up the dowel and returning the dowel, they have to show flexibility, pike flexibility, so straight legs while they're doing that. The next one is from a stand on the floor, straddle press to handstand. So we have our interruption and upward movement during the press, so any sort of stop or hesitation. And then as well, if they lower their legs, we're looking at that deduction. Looking for jumping from the ground. Some athletes might have trouble and they might push off their feet. And then we have to judge the quality of that handstand and the length of the handstand. So once they stop the pressing action, 2 seconds and a perfectly straight handstand, perfectly aligned. Our next one is lowering to straddle sit. So like I said, nice controlled lower deduction, or nice controlled lower movement, and legs at horizontal in the straddle sit. And well above the parallettes is what we're looking for. Then straddle press to handstand, we're looking for the same things as the press from the ground. And then again, slow and controlled pike down to the stand. It's not a fall to feet and pike the body. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Put this on silent. And step 4, kick to handstand. So if you look at the document, I think they kind of screwed up and put the wrong deductions there. That looks like the deductions for the last element in this routine. So what we're looking for is basically just a handstand alignment and time of the handstand. And then forward roll to straddle, pike stretch position, swim through the middle splits. And so for the flexibility, we're judging the angle that they're away from the floor. So for the pike, it's the floor and their chest above the floor, and middle splits, we're judging just the angle of their legs. In the roll, personally, I think arms straight would be best, but there's no deduction for bending the arms. And there's no specific hold time for the pike or the middle splits, but they need to show the positions, especially in the pike. There has to be a stop in the pike. And the swim through middle splits, there doesn't have to be a stop, but they should show full middle splits at some point. So number 7, this is just lying face down on the floor and trying to press their armpits into the ground and show a nice handstand alignment shape. When they lift their arms, they have to cover their ears, but their head and chest should stay flat on the ground. And then we have to look at the hold time for that element. Then they do out curve rocks. When they do this, they need to keep their arms in alignment with their head and shoulder, or their head, covering their ears. So there's no moving the arms to assist in the rocking motion, and their body has to maintain the same position in the out curve and then in the in curve. There should be no change in body position while they're doing the rocks. Then they turn over and push to a bridge for 2 seconds. You can see the performance expectation is shoulders over the hands and legs straight together. So that's just basic bridge shape. We don't want the flexibility coming from the lower back. It's a shoulder stretching position. And then the D shape, that's a little bit confusing, but what you can think about is they're on their knees, and they reach their hands behind their back to grab their ankles, and then they're supposed to push their chest out. So their chest and torso is making the round part of the D, and from their shoulders to their arms, that's the straight part of the D. And they want shoulders above the feet and hips pushed forward to the knees or further. And then from there, it's a chest roll, push to handstand. So it's a bent arm roll, push up to handstand. And again, we're looking for no hesitation, no interruption of the upward movement to the handstand, and then perfect aligned handstand for 2 seconds after they reach that position. So that's basically everything I said there. And I'll send this out as well, so you all have those notes. But any questions about the Elite 3 routine?
One quick one. For the rocking, it's like fingers to toes is 1, right? Fingers, toes, fingers, toes, fingers, toes?
Forward and backwards would be 1. So it's 3 full rocks. Yeah.
Just to clarify, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a half, it's
Exactly,
1.
I didn't think so.
And I'm assuming that if they did one or half an extra rock, it wouldn't be a deduction because
No, yeah.
That's the
It's hard
one-
to start and stop that.
Yeah.
So like, I wouldn't take any deductions for that sort of beginning or end of those rocks. Sort of like a pommel horse where they're allowed an extra circle at the end to maintain their momentum or whatever.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I didn't have a video of the Leap 3, but it's very similar to the Leap 4. And there's a video here that is being very well done. So we're going to watch this. I think, so there's two differences. They do straddle planche instead of straddle L-sit, and they do a bridge kick over, and they don't do the D-shaped rock to handstand. But the majority of the positions and the transitions are the same. So I want to show you guys this because this is a very well done routine.
Did you judge this one, Chris?
I didn't judge this one, but it scored a 9 from whoever judged it for the qualifications to Leap 4.
Come on, load already.
There we go.
Oop. Wow.
A very nice handstand position. This is the one part where I wasn't too happy with this big hip angle there and not quite low enough. But everything else was very good. Well, maybe that could have been a little bit lower.
A little fast.
You can see this athlete showing great control, great positions. He's really showing off that he went through full split there. So here I'd probably want him to have his head down when he lifted his arms. There might be a little deduction for that. But he maintains his arms by his ears in a good body position in there. Very nice bridge. So we're missing the D shape, unfortunately, in the rock to handstand, but a lot of those skills are very much the same for both levels. So I'll go a little bit quicker through the Leap 4 since, like we said, they're very much the same. So skill 1, skill 2 are the same. Skill 3 is a lower to straddle planche. And so we're looking for body at horizontal during the planche and hips open. So like I was saying about the last boy, he had a hip angle and his whole body wasn't flat, and then he had a hip angle. So there's two separate deductions there because there's two angular deviations from the perfect hold position. And that boy I might not even give credit for the straddle planche since his hips were at almost 90 degrees. And then straddle, so straight body back up to handstand. So there's no piking of the hips and pressing up from that straddle planche. It's maintaining straight body, open hips all the way up to the handstand. Then legs come together, and then you judge the handstand hold and the quality of that handstand. In the handstand push-up, we're looking for at least a 90-degree arm bend and showing control and consistent movement throughout that. And then yeah, control on the way down, control on the pike down. So then they do the kick to handstand. Again, we're looking for that body alignment, posture. Forward roll, same thing, hold time for the pike and middle split. Or yeah, they can hold the pike and middle splits. they must show a stop in the pike. Middle splits, they just need to show that they're going fully through that. Head and shoulders on the ground when they lift their arms. The rocks are the same. And then for the bridge and the kickover, there's no time for the bridge, but they need to show that shoulders open, minimum hands or minimum armpits over the hands. When they kick over, it says momentary split, so we should be judging that. It should be 180 degrees. That's a split. So if they're not at a full 180 degrees, there should be some deduction there. And it should be a controlled step down to legs together and then present. And consider those notes.
So it's a split handstand, and then you step down on one foot and the other foot, or it's a split handstand, then you bring your legs together and stoop down?
From the way I interpret it and the way most of the routines I've seen, it's through a split handstand, then one foot, then the other.
Okay.
And then legs coming together at the end. So it's not stepping into a lunge, it's stepping into both feet together. I should preface this is my interpretations, and if there are clarifications coming down the line, then I'll communicate them, or John will communicate them to everyone. But this is the way I have been interpreting it, and hopefully it at least helps us be consistent, more consistent in BC. So we got, I think, 3 practice routines. So hopefully everyone has some paper and pen that we could go through and show what we've learned. So it's only for Elite 4s. Like I said, I don't have videos of Elite 3s yet. So if everyone's ready, I'm gonna start loading the next one. I think it might take a couple seconds to load like the last time. Oh, no, it went right away. Okay, I'll pause it. Go to full screen. So after this, I kind of broken down where I've gotten the deductions on which skills, and then we can go over any questions you have each time afterwards, because we do still have about 35 minutes. All right, let's go. So that was a pretty well done routine. We could tell the athlete had some flexibility issues, but the presentation was done pretty nice, and he was following the prescribed performance expectations pretty well. So, anyone want to venture a score for that?
Hate to say it, but I have 4.0 in deductions.
Oh, that's better. I only have 2.4.
I don't know that that's better, Colleen. I think.
Better for the boy. His score anyway.
I had not quite that high, John. I think I had 3.2 possibly. Okay. But what did I have? Here, this next. That's 2-1. Yeah. But he was scored an 8.4 from the testing that was done before. The first one, it's hard to tell. Shoulder angle, it looked okay.
It's interesting. I thought it was a 3/10 deduction.
Really?
It looked pretty wide, but
it's a hard angle to judge it from too, right?
Yeah.
A handstand, basically every handstand, he wasn't quite straight. He always had like a little bit of a hip angle. So every handstand for this athlete, I took at least 1/10. Straddle planche, I thought it was definitely short and a little bit high. And the handstand push-up was good. I took another handstand deduction. Every handstand I had at least 1/10. I took 3/10 on both straddle and middle splits.
I almost took 5, and then I went back to 3.
Well, I'm wondering
5 in middle splits. That's like almost straddle stand.
Yeah, that's
what about the push on the floor instead of a swim through?
Yeah, actually, I don't think I noticed that the first time I judged it. I would take some sort of hand position error, I guess.
I took a 5. I thought it's like a hit on the apparatus, but but I don't know.
Definitely not done correctly. So yeah, there should be a deduction in there for that. When he did the lying down on the ground, he didn't have his armpits flat.
Yeah.
The L curve rocks, I think I took a 1/10 or 2 when there's some sort of movement of the body. Took some steps when he was moving into and out of the bridge.
I missed that.
Pardon? As he pushed up into the bridge, he moved his feet backwards, I think, a couple steps. And then as he was going to kick over, he bent one leg and brought it back before he kicked over. And there's an angular deviation in the bridge and lack of split in the kick over. Yeah, like I said, John, you take all these deductions that are available, you'll be pretty high up. I'm not sure how to, I don't know.
It's definitely going to need some practice, I think, by judges before they're judging it.
Yeah. I think somewhere on the lower end of this range is probably more correct. So this next two are actually, they're not as well done as the first two we saw.
Oh, yay.
Hey, my screen just went blank.
Oh, no.
I'll replay it afterwards if you can figure out that.
Yeah, I'm back now. But I missed his whole planche and handstand push-up.
Oh dear.
Well, let's replay this since John missed part of it.
Arms raised. That's 3. Oh my. 2, 3.
Okay. I'm good. I got the rest.
I have a score.
As we can see, he missed a couple elements. He missed the handstand, and he missed the raising the arms while he's lying on his stomach. So right there, he's going to be down 1.5 from just missing those skills. So he didn't. I took at least 3 for that shoulder angle, and then some deductions for the lack of smooth continuous motion. Because he kind of inculcated one and then the other. Yeah, just really fast. Body posture and angular deviation in the handstand. The planche, it was actually not too bad, except it was a little bit high. Handstand, he doesn't have a very nice handstand, so there's always going to be something there. The handstand push-up didn't quite go down low enough, and then some body movement on the way up and lack of control in the pipe down. Loses a point for not doing the handstand. I had 3 and 1 probably for the straddle middle splits. Didn't lift his arms in the lying down position. And the rocks were not done as described. His arms were moving, his body shape, he didn't maintain his body shape, so lots of deduction there. And lots of deductions in the bridge and the kick.
It's interesting because I didn't mind his arm action because it's simulating a front layout arm action, but it's not prescribed, so I'm not sure what the deduction would be for it.
I took what I did on most of those. I took 1/10 for not having them by the ears and 1/10 for failure to maintain the body position. So basically each rock I took about 2/10 on for that.
Yeah.
So he scored a 6. I had him closer to 5.
And that's with the 1.5 off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm down at a 4.3.
Owen, how are you?
Around about the 4.6.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I bumped their scores up a little bit to try and maintain closer to what they scored.
I think when the screening was done, I think Ed did the judging of these routines.
And also, I guess another thing to consider, the final document we have is after they've submitted. Final document is December 20th or something, and everyone had their routines in by November.
Right.
Probably.
So there may have been some changes.
Maybe there was some changes to value of the deductions or something somewhere along the line. All right, this is the last demonstration I have. It's similar to the boy before, but let's see how it compares. So he's much more flexible, but missing the same elements as the boy before, and some problems with the handstand stuff on the parallettes.
I took the planche as well. I took the value because there was no stop at all.
Right, yeah, I had that. And then I also took the press from a poorly held position because he didn't hold the planche, so then he loses that. You have to kind of add that to that. The press from there was made easier because he didn't hold it. He didn't lower all the way.
Yeah.
And then he didn't bend his arms enough in the handstand push-up, and he actually was low. Well, I guess it's lower than the legs. So I just took interruption of upward movement for the handstand push-up. Same kind of thing with the body rocks. And the kickover was better, but again, he moved his leg before he did the kickover. So I took a step deduction for that. And then the lack of split in the kickover. So I had him at a 5.5, so about 0.5 better than the previous guy.
Yeah. Did you what the 1.6 to 1.7 in deductions you have for the planche? So that's giving him credit for the planche.
Oh no, that's 1 point off for no credit, and then other.
And then just 0.6 or 0.7 in deductions, because so that's when I did it. So there was no stop, so that's a 5/10 deduction for no stop.
Yeah,
and then
1 point off for no credit, and then
other body positions too, though. So yeah.
Well, I was kind of anticipating more questions, so that's
nothing of us to ask.
That's the end of my presentation. There are any questions?
What,
Chris, so is this range, that's the range of your deductions or the range of the score?
That's the score. Sorry, I should have said that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's okay. It took me a minute to clue into.
Chris, what do you think moving forward inside our province? Do you think we should be looking at having physical ability routine experts that judge it all the time, or should it basically be an assignment that comes just as any other judge? Or
yeah, that's a good question.
Or a variety of people that could be not the same two people all the time.
Yeah.
But I think the thing with that is if it's not the same people or people with the same strict interpretation, then you could get a kid scoring a 6 at the first meet and scoring an 8 at the second meet and scoring a 6.2 at the third meet.
Yeah.
And the routine's gotten better each time.
Well, maybe some of us should just get together and all work together and then have a group of us or something. The same two people don't want to judge all the time, right?
No.
Oh, it's true. And the other thing is there's just not that many people
I know.
There's just not that many gymnasts that are going to be performing these routines. That's one of our other issues.
Yeah.
So I know, Chris, we had talked about, hey, Leanne.
Where'd
Leanne,
she
are you
go?
still there? Leanne, where'd you go? I was gonna
Yeah, I'm here. I just, you guys are cutting out a lot, so I don't know what's going on.
No worries. We're just going to chat, I think, a little bit. So I think you could stop the recording.
Okay,
This is going to
sounds
be for
good. I will
public
turn it off
viewing.
in just 1 second. Just give me 1 sec. Okay, guys, I'm just going to end the recording now then.